Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Hummingbird Assembly. I am Reverend Michelle, and I'm happy to lead you each week in our gatherings where our intention is to stimulate thought, create connection, and expand consciousness. The Hummingbird Assembly is an assembly of people who will teach each other to find the miracle of joyful living from life's circumstance to accomplish that which seems impossible. Our announcements are the same as they are pretty much every week. First and foremost, on the table in the back, we have two boxes, a green one and a white one. The white box is where we ask for your donations to support the ongoing costs of our growing church. And please feel free to write your name on an envelope there if you would like. And the green box, in my opinion, is the most important. It is where we invite you to... The hordes have arrived. Hello, everyone. The green box is where we invite you to write out discussion topics, things that you would like to discuss, because it's your assembly and we want to talk about the things that are relevant to you. So don't worry, if you make a suggestion, you do not have to lead discussion. I promise to continue to be the moderator. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome. Thank you. So I think, and the other thing that I wanted to share that I almost forgot was that we continue to collect awakening stories. These are the stories of the moment in your life when you realized that you weren't a victim of what was happening to you, but you were actually a conscious co-creator of your experience. If you wanted to share a little bit about your story, we would invite you to send your awakening story to admin@hummingbirdAssembly.com. Our intention is to collect all of these stories together and into an ebook to share with people over various social media platforms so they don't feel quite so alone in this scary time. We have a full house. So exciting. Good morning, Chelsea. All right, does everyone have an intention? I think we're missing one down the road. Thank you. Okay. You're welcome. All right, so then let us begin with our opening intention. You are welcome to read along out loud or to just follow along silently. I'll be reading loudly. May I come to understand that blessings are everywhere, that my attitude will affect outcomes, that challenges are often gifts in disguise. May I come to trust that most things can get better with time, that my instincts and gut feelings have value, and that a positive attitude makes things go smoother. May I come to see that I have many skills and talents I can use, that I am a positive influence on many people, and that there are those around me who wish me well. May I come to value that today is a blessing to be enjoyed, that each person is unique and important, and that each moment of my life is meaning. We'll come to our discussion, and as promised, we are going to continue our exploration of universal laws. Last week, we took on the universal law of harmony and the universal law of reincarnation and karma, and as promised, Jacqueline, karma is back. The third universal law is the law of wisdom, which erases karma, so the author states. So what I will do is read it through. We'll all take a moment to digest it, and then we'll start to take it apart, maybe line at a time. Okay? All right. So the universal law of wisdom erases karma. If you have the wisdom to learn your lessons through love and wisdom, you can mitigate your suffering. Sadly, we seem to learn the fastest through pain, through directly experiencing the consequences of our actions. As an example, you greedily take from others, and instead of learning wisdom and love that this is wrong, you have to experience from others someone greedily taking from you, whether later in this life or in a future lifetime. They offer an example here. In your last life, you were married to a soul who is your mate today, and whom you cruelly left for another in that previously lifetime. Before you were born into your current life, you agreed to be left by your mate under similar circumstances. This will allow you to balance your karma and directly experience the pain of abandonment. If through the wisdom of master life awareness, it is easier to detach consciously from the relationship with love, you will ease the pain of parting while also passing your own test and thus absolving karma and evolving from within.
Can you read that last sentence if you agree, please?
If through the wisdom of master life awareness, it is easier to detach consciously from the relationship with love, you will ease the pain of parting while also passing your own test and thus absolving karma and evolving from within.
Thank you.
I feel like the example was maybe a little more confusing than the actual law itself. Okay, so let me read the law again. If you have the wisdom to learn your lessons through love and wisdom, you can mitigate your suffering. Sadly, we seem to learn the fastest through pain, through directly experiencing the consequences of our actions. As an example, you greedily take from others, and instead of learning through wisdom and love that this is wrong, you have to experience from others someone greedily taking from you, whether later in this life or in a future lifetime. Anyone have any comment?
It's deep.
It is. It is. You look like there's something happening over there.
I think it's just explaining my situation.
I need to remind you, sorry. Did you say it's your person?
Which is funny because you said the example seemed
More confusing.
more challenging than the.
Yeah.
And I was like, it kind of just.
Did it bring you some peace?
Yeah.
Ah.
Let me understand my decisions.
Ah. Check mark. I think it's interesting that it says that we choose to learn the fastest, that we seem to learn the fastest through pain. Because often we talk about, certainly in this room, that things are a lesson. And the implication of that word to me is painful, right?
I think for a lot of people, pain, they can't stand it, so they have to drop everything and deal with the issue. And that, as painful as it is, that is the speaking
drives the
because
action.
you have to drop everything else that you're doing to deal with it.
Or you've ignored it for so long that it finally has that's the way
It has your
it gets
attention. Yeah.
Yeah, like a lot of people want to avoid pain, and so you almost avoid the lesson in what you could learn. And so, there's all kinds of coping mechanisms, and I talk with my girlfriend about that. Like, if you're trying to fulfill yourself in other ways, instead of looking at what lesson you need to learn, that painful thing, that so people fill that hole with other things, like with the awakening stories and things. People are very consumer driven in society now, and all about what other people think and all those things, people get trapped into it, and it's almost ways to fill the void of community, of fellowship, of like what we're doing here, right? Just awakening and being part of a greater thing. I think anyways, that, it's almost, you don't want to deal with that thing because it's hard to go through. And it's those people who are able to stand up and at that time and go through it, then you can learn that lesson.
I read somewhere recently, I can't remember the last year, that said we humans tend to learn through suffering, but we could absolutely learn through joy. And I'm like, how do you do that?
Well, and I think that's what this law is talking about.
That's what I thought. I thought it was a new idea to me that I hadn't thought of before, and I got so excited, but there wasn't it was just in passing in an article, and I went, where's the rest? Like, where are the steps? Give me the 10 steps. So.
I love those 10 steps. Did you find them?
No. I'm asking you.
Well, it says that we can learn our lessons through love and wisdom to mitigate that suffering, right? So if we think about I can't remember the exact word, but it's like it's an old saying about you don't need to learn your lessons. You can share your lessons so that I don't have to experience everything directly. Right? So maybe the wisdom that we could apply is, who do we know who's been in this circumstance? And how did they get out of it? Like lovingly approach them for advice.
Yeah, it's just, I think if you've been through stuff that you don't know anyone who's been through the same stuff. That's my personal experience. You know what I mean? So I just kind of,
So I'm having this whole spiral now. And I think part of the suffering is that we continuously isolate ourselves. And when we don't share about our experience, we don't know who else has had that experience, because everyone else is sitting in their own silent pain, right? Like to take an extraordinary example, you think of like an abused woman. Mm-hmm. She probably thinks she's the only one in her network who is being abused. Right. But maybe there are 5 others, but none of them talk about it because they're so ashamed. Yeah. Or we think about, our shared history of panic and anxiety. Right. We don't talk about those things. Yeah. So how would you know that half this room is also dealing with that right now at this moment, because we don't talk about it? Well, and maybe the wisdom comes, or maybe it's the love that you have for yourself that allows you to share what you're going through, to find people who also have that experience.
Yeah, well, a funny thing happened last week. I was talking to my husband because I was going through an experience that was very painful, and I was telling him about it, and all of a sudden he said, well, I felt that way my whole life. And I turned and looked at him. I thought, I've been with this man 36 years.
So you've been together
and I was flabbergasted. I went, you have never, we've shared everything. We don't have any secrets. Yeah. And I thought, you've never said that before. And I just looked at him. He was a confident businessman. He was this and that, and successful. And I went like, wow, and he just said this, and I went, holy cow. I was just blown away. Yeah. That he had never shared that. But I mean, he doesn't share things with. I'm the only person on the planet he shared things with. Mm. But the fact that there was something that was a pretty big thing, and I just sat there and went, who knew? The guy I'm crawling to bed with every night is like, went through felt the same thing, like
for every day of his life,
and never told anybody, and finally told me. So that was an eye opener. So maybe that's kind of what you're saying. A group of people there could be a commonality there.
Yeah, we just don't
You
share.
learn so much from others, sharing each other's experiences. And maybe that is the wisdom, that we understand that, we become to understand that, and if we can share and learn from each other, then
Yeah. I think a lot of people don't want to leave themselves exposed or vulnerable. And I think sometimes when pain is inflicted among us, it almost gives us that push over the edge to open up and to communicate and to take outside help and knowledge from other people's experience. Pain is kind of like your stop sign when you're driving a car. It's kind of in your face, right? It shows up and nobody's comfortable with it, but I think, it's definitely can't be ignored once it's there.
Mm-hmm.
to be devil's advocate a little bit too.
So I need to remind you.
Yes, I forgot. To be devil's advocate too, when you do find people that have gone through similar experiences and you share that, I find if no one is ready to move on at that point in time, you fester it, and it does. And now you've got a group of people that are all validating everybody's feelings, which is fantastic, but no one is ready to move on and forgive and learn through that love of sharing and that. So then it can become almost worse than not talking to people at times, because now you've got 3 or 4 people.
Only if you stay.
That's what I'm saying. Like when upon approaching people, I think you also have to go into it thinking, okay, here's my story, here's my problem. What do I want to leave? What do I want to get rid of? What do I want to move on from and learn from? And that's what I want to draw from people who've gone through the same thing as me. Like, I want to be validated in my feelings, but I also want to learn how to move forward too, right, and not get stuck down in that constant hate and pain and suffering, and not be able to, and then now it's twice as hard because you've got a group of people and you can't, it's like a big black hole and you can't get out of it.
So this might be a chicken and egg proposition.
Yeah.
But perhaps that group, they are much like you in that they don't know what the next step forward is. And so it's not that they don't want to.
No, and that's what I'm saying.
It's that they have no idea what it is.
What to do. Yeah.
And isn't the first step of wisdom acknowledging that you don't know what you don't know?
And so when you're in that group and you're recognizing that no one is moving forward and you're not prepared to stay stuck there, so you start doing whatever you can to move forward, you're kind of leading the rest of the group,
Absolutely,
right?
but if you
And
don't
then-
know where to move forward, or
Right.
you like you've reached out to a group of people and you haven't been able to move forward, and you're no further ahead than you were to begin with.
So Matt Kahn, my internet boyfriend, mine, not yours, mine, would tell us to love it.
Right, but I mean, you need to have
So
someone
if you
that
are,
knows
and
that.
there are really only two emotions in the world, right? There's fear and there's emotion, or
Love.
there's fear and there's love. And so whatever you're feeling, so in that group situation that we're using as an example here, stuck, angry, frustrated, you use the word validated, all of those things comes from a place of fear. So the trick to move that group forward would be having a discussion of what are we afraid of? Because once you identify what it is that you're afraid of, and you can love it. I'm afraid I'm going to get hurt again. I'm afraid that nobody's going to trust me. I'm afraid that I'll never get a job.
I also feel that, and I'm not trying to start a debate.
No, I just really like that. That's all
I also feel that everybody's experiences are very much different. So in my experiences in a group setting in the past, I don't really think that there's somebody that can say, you can move forward. This is how you move forward, because nobody's truly shared that experience you're living. So I almost feel like you might get little bits, little bits of information from those you're talking to, but I don't believe that there's somebody that can tell you exactly how to move forward, because
Except you can. Except you can. What are you
You
afraid
can.
of?
yes,
Love it.
yes, but that
That's
is
the
leaving it
process
open-ended.
forward. That's the process forward.
Okay.
And everybody's
Yes.
everybody's
Yes.
fear is different. I get that. But the answer is the same. Love it.
Right.
Does it go back to the basis of awakening, of recognizing that you don't want to be the victim anymore?
Yeah.
It's recognizing that you were never the victim.
Well, it starts with, I don't like this.
Yeah.
I want to change it. Oh, shit. It was always me.
Exactly.
Well, and it's a way to respond, right? Is I can see that step, but you could take it almost one step further, because nobody, if you're looking for somebody to say this is how you fix it, or you don't think someone else can say this is how you fix it, because they can't, because your issue is your issue and it's your journey, it's your path to walk. And by sharing wisdom or from a place of love, may be different, but you can find those similarities.
Yes.
But one thing I found very helpful with awakening is to own what you can own and to let go of what you don't own. And somebody said, I forget who it was, but it was very profound. And at first I got a little bit defensive, was that you own what you own and you have to let go of whatever that person is doing. But I was like, but they're doing it against me.
Right.
Well,
And isn't that mine too then? Yeah.
And to get that's mine too, and that if I come from a place of love and own what I own and their journey is their journey, then I choose to allow what is going to impact me or how I'm going to deal with it, and let go of whatever they're doing or however they're doing.
And what Matt Kahn says about that is people can only meet you at the level to which they have arisen.
Yes.
Right? So if they are still in that, when I'm a victim, they haven't even made I don't want to be a victim. When I'm a victim, they're not going to be able to meet you at, I love you.
Yes.
Right?
And in this,
It's just like Haley's masterclass.
and it's not instantaneous, and that's
Right.
one thing too. Like, we're so used to instant gratification. communication, things happen so quickly. I actually, can I share an example? Do you mind if I share an example? So I have a lot of mother issues. My mom is lovely, lovely, lovely. I love
So
her.
is mine.
But there's but there's stuff. And
Yes.
I worked very hard at dealing with this stuff because I learned that it's a trigger. And although I try and I think I'm enlightened and I'm loving and everything, sometimes it's really hard when someone's and you're like, I'm having trouble loving that. But I just and so I'm like, this is a big lesson. And so, but I just try to put it like, she would say something negative and I would just try to counteract it with something positive. Well, at least that person survived that horrible tragedy. What lesson could be found? We have to appreciate that we're not in that. And I'm kind of joking about it, but it's hard work to do those things.
Do you know what I've started doing with situations like that? What? It's a relationship that I want to save,
Yes.
that I don't want to have to walk away from.
Yes.
I set a timer, and you get 3 minutes to complain.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the 3 minutes, I say, okay, 3 good things.
Yes. Yeah.
And people get like it. I did this years ago. I don't have to do it now because people rise to the level of conversation you allow. But when I started doing it, people were like, I'm not finished talking. I haven't finished telling you about how this other horrible thing. I'm like, sorry, the time is up. So it's 3 good things or we have to disconnect the call.
Yeah, and so
I don't have any good things. What, you didn't have a coffee this morning? Of course I did. Were your panties clean? Yes. We got 2. Come up with 1 more. Right? And then people laugh just like this and you get elevated. So try that with your saving your mom relationship.
Well, and it turned out after this time since my awakening, right? It's not instant. There's lots of work, lots of
It's always a process.
The other day on the phone, she said, you know, because she's always a victim. It's everyone else's fault. She said, you know, I wonder if I'm maybe too blame for Alex and some of her anxiety and stuff. And I was thinking about, and I was like,
Hello.
and then I went one step further and said, no, I wouldn't blame yourself because I love you. And I know that Alex loves you and we just need to love. And so it like so many like universal, I don't knows were happening there because it was like my relationship with her acknowledging, maybe raising that vibration, taking things to the next level, like, and my instant thing was just go with the love.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, might not be right, but just go with the love.
Yeah.
Our stories and our pain, I think, are very important in who we are and what we've turned into. But I think we also have to really remember that we don't allow those stories to become the bars in the cage that becomes our life. I know I held on to so much of what I went through to get here. And I had developed bars around myself with each individual little story. And it took me quite a while to break down those bars and realize that I am not those stories. I am me.
Boom.
I am me. I'm divine. I'm fantastic. And have those stories. God, and then it was such an awakening, another shifting and awakening moment.
It's a massive
that,
moment.
Wow, those are not who I am.
Yeah, when you recognize that you are not your story,
Your lesson.
That-
Not my story. Yeah.
never mind that it's even your lesson. It's not who you are. It's not. It's something that you experienced, but it's not who you are. It can be as defining a moment in your life as you want it to be, or it can be not at all related to you. You are not your story. You are who you choose to be. And when you choose to be divine and holy and loving, world's a beautiful place. Oh, I love that.
It's like sparkles.
Ellie has a pajama shirt that says, I eat glitter for breakfast.
Oh, I love it.
Oh,
My favorite color. That's what
Okay.
Gabby always says, glitter's my favorite color.
Do we want to speak any more about the universal law of wisdom? Or do we want to move on to the next one? We have about 10 minutes left for discussion.
Sorry, you go ahead. Oh no, just like it's deep. Of course, we'll never get past this, right? It's just so deep. But
Now, backtracking to the part with the soulmate of the past and bringing it forward.
It goes back to that ripple conversation, right, from last
Yeah,
week.
so can you just maybe talk a bit on that?
So what did they say here? In your last life, you were married to a soul who is your mate today. And in your previous life, you cruelly left that person in a previous lifetime for someone else. Before you were born into this life, you agreed to be left by that mate under similar circumstances to allow you to balance your karma and to directly experience the pain of abandonment. I think this is part of what you were asking about last week in karmic relationships, right?
Yes, that is almost the wording that I found.
Yeah.
And it's very sad because I have not had many relationships, but I've already been married once. So how does that work? Because
Well, your marriage may not be a karmic relationship. Your marriage just might be something beautiful that you have in this life.
not to do with before.
No.
But before
Or maybe,
was somebody else.
or maybe before all of your relationships have been deeply loving, and so you continue with your karma in this life to have deeply loving relationships that matter. Maybe that's the karma, right? Like, remember that discussion last week. It doesn't have to be a negative thing. Oh, karma's going to get you.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be that, right? It can just be, this is my karma.
Yeah.
I am truly
So-
wonderful, and therefore I'm greeted that way.
Just confused because I find that I'm a very loving, caring person. People will say that, oh my gosh, you know, you gotta know me to know. Okay, lots of love.
Yes.
I'll help everything in.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean that, okay, I'm learning my lesson from before that I was a horrible person. I could have been a good, loving person back then.
You might
It
get
just
to that
means-
point if you have relationships with people, and not necessarily intimate like romantic relationships, but friendships with people where you feel betrayed. You might see there that in the past you betrayed, like in a previous lifetime, you betrayed relationships.
So now-
And so you are balancing that out here. If we look at this, the reincarnation as like scales of justice idea, okay? And in last week you were asking about first life. Maybe in your first life you came with nothing, just had a bag of coins in your hands, and where are you going to put them? And then you put betrayal here, and you put like you betrayed someone here, and you loved someone here, and you were abandoned here. You have to eventually bring those scales back to equal, right? So in each lifetime, you will take a coin from one of the piles to balance it out until we eventually come back to that law of harmony that we were discussing last week.
And is that part of what you'd say evolution? That each lifetime we're evolving to be better?
Yeah. To attain harmony.
I read somewhere that our soul, once it's learned a lesson, we have that lesson for the rest of our existence,
Right.
for all of eternity.
Yeah.
So, you know, in this area of life, I might be good in one area and bad in another. So then maybe in every life after that, the area I'm good in, hopefully I'll be good
It
in.
will definitely
Yeah.
follow with
Yeah, and then,
Yeah.
you know, so then I'll have other areas to work on in the
Yeah.
next, this life and the next life.
you. Does that help?
Still trying to understand. So deep.
Mhm. And like karma comes up in each week of these discussions. So you'll continue to evolve that as you are open to it. Did you want to say something, or have we crossed over from whatever that was?
I think so, and I didn't realize that karma could be good or bad. That was a big
Actually, karma is just neutral.
is neutral. Mhm. And is it possible to learn a lesson like that? Wisdom to
Mhm.
learn a lesson is if you're on the outside and you can see a situation happening to someone else,
Mhm.
and you say, "Ooh," you know, like
I finally understand what it felt like when I betrayed that friendship. Boom, that coin gets moved to the other side of the scale.
okay, so it doesn't necessarily.
That's this
have
law
to
we're
be-
discussing now, right? Law of wisdom and love. Oh, I really deeply hurt somebody before. I hope I never do that to someone. This is an awful experience. Oh, boom. Moved.
And you can do that without necessarily experiencing it yourself,
Yes.
but by viewing something. through
Your best friend or
Yeah.
whomever. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. All right, we have a few minutes. I don't know if we should take on the next one. It's not very long.
We'll read it to the week about it to be
Okay, it's the universal law of grace. Is there a grace in the room? We need a grace. It's your universal law. Karma can be experienced to the letter of the law or in mercy and grace.
What is grace?
In other words, if you give love, mercy, and grace to others, you will receive the same in return. Define grace. Simple elegance or refinement of movement. To do honor or credit to someone or something by your presence.
Thank you.
So I think grace is an integral aspect of forgiveness. Karma can be experienced to the letter of the law or in mercy and in grace.
And the letter of the law that they're referring to is the universal laws.
Like you have to actually betray somebody to balance out that karma where you were betrayed.
But the laws that they're referring to are the universal laws.
Right.
Not like the criminal code.
Well, I think they didn't capitalize this, so I would think here it's just a turn of phrase to the letter of the law.
Okay.
I think it's just a turn of phrase. I don't think it necessarily is attributing to something, although it might be speaking directly to the law of karma.
Okay.
I like the idea that we don't have to do everything ourselves.
Yeah.
I like the idea that I don't have to experience everything to balance out my karma. I like that somebody can be peaceful and loving toward me, and therefore I move that coin. I like that I can offer that to you, and therefore we can move that coin. I think this is like the opposite of holding a grudge. I think this is the law of where people say, just let it go. This is what they're talking about.
And that we are all one.
Sorry, Haley?
And that we're all one.
Yes.
Although I might be choosing my decisions for my own molecule, watching or seeing someone else do theirs, I can benefit, learn, or lose from it too.
Isn't it a beautiful thought? And I think it's the root of the golden rule, to do unto others as you would have done unto you. You want to act in grace.
That's my mom's saying. She used to say that. Yeah. That's my mom's.
The golden rule, to do unto others?
Yes, she used to have it up in our house. That was always, if I ever did something, that was what she would say to me every time.
And my dad used to always say, it's a wise man who can learn from another man's mistakes.
That's the phrase I was trying to remember. That's the one. Thank you. Yeah.
Did you feel that, Naomi? All the way to
All the
the
way, yeah.
station, yes.
All of us, yeah.
So our task is to give love, to give mercy. Did you ever play that game when you were a kid, Mercy? Try to fold each other's hands over?
Yeah. It's horrible.
You do this and you're trying to hurt the other person until they make them say, Mercy, Mercy, Mercy. And then you have to choose whether or not you're going to let go and release them from their pain. It's actually a very good metaphor for what mercy is. As a parent, when I'm punishing my child and I tell them it's a 2-week period, can I show them mercy and do it in shorter time? Release them from their pain. Damn it.
It's
only been a week. Do I let him off the hook?
The key would be have they learned the lesson that they were supposed to learn.
Oh, dude, he got it in a heartbeat. So I have to show mercy and grace. Grace means I have to do it in love.
There is something
I don't know.
consistency though.
Can I show myself the grace to let this go?
karmically, he's here to teach you something.
I'm telling you what, Nancy. Does anybody have any thoughts about this?
What if you show somebody mercy and grace and they just keep repeating?
So what's important to recognize is that where you give that, it may not be where you get it back from.
So do you
Because we are all one.
right?
If you show me mercy and grace, but I turn and show her mercy and grace, you will eventually get yours from somewhere else.
You're doing it for yourself, not for them.
Yes, that totally made total sense in my experience.
And your job is to make sure you're receiving it from wherever it's coming, not denying it because it's not coming from where you want it.
Gotcha.
And as you receive it, you give more and you will receive more. And eventually you may get it from that relationship, but by that point it won't even matter because you'll be so full of it from everywhere else you needed it.
And if you don't, it doesn't matter because whatever arises,
Love that.
And what Barb said is so poignant.
It's for you.
It's for you. You give
It's
that,
not for them.
not to get something back. You give it for you.
So if I let Sam off his punishment, I'll stop hearing about how he has another 7 days to go. You're right, that is for me.
But Lindsay made a good point too about consistency. What you say what you mean, Mama.
Sometimes I make them earn it back. I make them earn time when I feel really bad. Then I make them earn it back so they'll do
To salve your conscience.
Yeah.
We can like
And
have
then
a
I don't
whole
lose
parenting
faith.
discussion around this law.
And then I don't lose face on them.
We are almost out of time. Is there anything else we want to say about the law of grace?
I think just one other quote which came to mind as you were talking about it. Buddha said, not forgiving someone is like swallowing poison and expecting them to die.
Mm-hmm.
So it truly is. It's for you. It's so for you. It's not for them.
So good.
Say that again.
I love that quote. Not forgiving someone is like swallowing poison and expecting them to die.
Yeah.
And I love that quote.
It's the same with anger, they say too.
Yes.
Oh, I like holding on to anger.
Yes.
Swallowing it.
Yes.
But if we go back to the two only emotions that exist, it's basically fear and love.
So if you hold on to fear and expect the other person to die, I think it all kind of goes back to the
Yeah.
same.
And also, when you were saying how you give out mercy, once you send something out, you have no control over how that person will receive it.
Absolutely.
That is entirely up to them. They have their choice as to how they could receive that. And if they choose to receive it from the negative point, then
That's
that's,
their choice.
the way you get it. I gave it from a place of love, and someday maybe you will see and feel the love that I sent you.
And if
Ah,
they don't, that's
But
okay
the
too.
trick there is that you've decided they haven't received it in love. Perhaps they have received it with as much love as they have.
Exactly.
And right now their love is like this and
Yes.
yours is like this.
They received it the only way
The only way they can.
receive it in that moment with all the information they have
Right.
available to them,
Right.
and we can't control that.
And it's not our comment to say maybe one day you'll receive it as I did.
oh,
because
no,
that-
I didn't. I meant that within myself.
But we have to release that aspect.
Okay.
That's how we get back to harmony, right? Because we're applying an intention there. I want you to receive the peace that I'm giving you in the way I'm giving it, but people can ever only meet you to the level they have
Okay.
risen.
Exactly.
And
Sorry,
and once they
yeah.
have that moment with you, they probably just move on.
Yep.
Right?
I just want to relate a quick thing.
Yeah.
My best friend died a year ago, and I've been worried about her husband and her son, et cetera, and her sister. And I was telling someone this, and they said, really? And they said, well, you said you want this, you want to be this to them, you want to be to that. She said, really? Their life is none of your business. And I went, whoa. And then I went, I wanted to do it in memory of my friend and be, like an auntie to the, he's in his 20s, he doesn't need me. And so when she said, really, it's
Listen, I'm in my 40s and I need you.
I kind of went, wow, I kind of went around and thought all these people that I kind of worry about, and I went, really, and even my mother and brother, their relationship and everything, I kind of went, it was kind of freeing to go, it's none of my business. That is their journey. It has nothing to do with me. It's not my responsibility. And I found it, even though at first I went, it was not like a slap in the face, but I mean, I went, whoa, wait.
Jarring.
And then I went, wow, that is so freeing for me, because I just went, okay, clean up your own mess. Anybody else's, that's theirs. And it was a very eye-opening moment to go. And you know, now I'm kind of trying to tie it in that if you do something for somebody, they don't react the way you want. Like my mother saying, oh, I gave this gift, I never hear back from them. And I thought, then stop giving to them. If your goal is to hear back from them and they're not thanking you, then don't do it anymore. So
Pretty simple, isn't it? From this perspective.
yeah.
All right, I'm going to cut.
I just want to clarify one thing. When you said, when you give love or when you give mercy and grace, the way, you know, the way you give it, how they receive it, you're going to receive it. You're not going to receive it the way.
They are never going to receive it the way you give it.
Right, but are you going to receive it the way you gave it?
You
or
are going to receive it as best you can. And in the moment you get it, you might be better or worse than in the moment you gave it.
Okay.
Right? Because like who I am now, my best is after 2 cups of coffee. Whereas who I was at 9 o'clock had not had any coffee. Right? Small little factors affect what level best you're at and how best are you able to receive. Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to end this discussion because I really want to get to healing. But next week we will continue the discussion of universal laws. Shall we look ahead? See what we're looking at next week? We'll be looking at, the law of bodhisattva, which we learned how to say last year. Bodhisattva, which we'll talk about next week. I'll even define it. You don't have to write it now. And we will also be discussing the universal law of vibrational attainment. So join us because it's going to be another good one. Have a great week.